obviously there's been a horrifying, murder in Chicago that sparked all kinds of conversations. And this is nothing new, especially in Chicago. I mean, Laquan McDonald was supposed to, we had all those conversations then. We've had them countless times across the country. But a 13-year-old little boy was murdered by the police with his hands in the air. He was complying to every single, command that they gave to him, and they still gunned him down in the streets. A little child, a 13-year-old boy. And this is in the midst of not only the Chauvin trial happening in Minneapolis, where he's, on trial for kneeling on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and taking his life. But we also have Daunte Wright just a few miles away from where George Floyd was murdered in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, who was shot. Another, a 20-year-old kid. And it's like when the world is watching the police, when all these things are happening, they still can't stop killing people. They still cannot. And you have the Daunte Wright, where like a 20 some odd year police veteran is trying to say that they didn't know the difference between the left and the right. You have a cop who clearly tells a 13-year-old little kid to put his hands in the air and shoots him anyway. I mean, this shows, if nothing else, that it's too late for reform, guys. We need a complete overhaul of the policing system. And I just don't think that there's any other way to say that. There's no way to justify this. And it kind of leads into a lot of the conversations I think that we're going to have on the podcast today with what's going on in Chicago with Lori Lightfoot and also just this increased militarization across the world of our police.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also just so heartbreaking and frustrating, these episodes which are occurring right now, because all of us so explicitly remember last summer. We so explicitly remember not only the demands that were made, but, being a part of the chorus of those making those demands, to defund the police, to reallocate the resources, to reimagine the way we do this. And those demands were not taken. They were not heeded at all. No one in charge really took it seriously. The system is still as it is. And not that I'm advocating for reform. I agree that we're beyond that point. But it's like, the solution to this problem was shouted from the rooftops by, citizens all across this country from coast to coast in every single city, taking to the streets to, scream it at the top of their lungs what the solution was. And no one fucking listened. So of course this is going to keep happening over and over again. And it's going to result in this continual trauma, essentially cultural, societal trauma, and continued fracturing between the public and the public servants, supposedly. And it's just a degenerating situation that's continually getting worse. And it doesn't help when our leaders and officials, people like Lori Lightfoot, are obfuscating, or Joe Biden, are obfuscating the problem and not addressing it head on, despite the fact that it has been addressed, or the solution has been brought to attention multiple times, again, by the activists, and namely the communities most affected by this continual police occupation and, murderous violence, the Black and brown communities of this country, and the poor and marginalized, who are most exploited. Anyway, I wanted to quickly play this clip from Lori Light talking about the Adam Toledo shooting, just to get a sense of, her tone. And then also I want to segue into some more Lori Lightfoot news, because she's had quite a week.
Yeah.
And simply put, we failed Adam. And we cannot afford to fail one more young person in our city. We must do everything we can also to eliminate the scourge of firearms from our city. Every year, the Chicago Police Department recovers more guns than New York and LA combined. Not because—
Reminder, it was the cop, not a citizen, that fucking shot this kid.
Yeah, are you going to take the guns away from the police?
Exactly. Those were your fucking pigs, Lori, that fucking gunned down this kid, and you fucking helped them cover it up and tried to prevent the fucking evidence from being released. So
yeah, that's the other thing we should say really quickly. They literally showed this child's mother a picture of him, and she thought it was for a missing persons report that they were going to file to help him find it. It was to identify the kid that they fucking shot. Okay. And they didn't tell her for days until they show her the fucking video of her son being murdered. Okay. That woman has to watch a video of a policeman, a fucking pig, shooting her little boy. That's what she has to do. And now you're going to try and obfuscate and be like, oh, well, Chicago has a gang violence problem. There's a lot of guns here. Like, it's just,
the cops are the fucking gang problem.
Yeah, exactly. In the words of Leftover Crack, right? Fuck the police. They're gang control.
Yeah. One sec.
Because we have a better strategy, not because we pay more attention, but because we have too many damn guns on our streets
and cops, and that's what needs to be stressed here more than anything. I pulled up this tweet, which I think makes the point well. As you watch Mayor Lightfoot navigate this situation, keep in mind that she sent $281 million of Chicago's $403 million in federal COVID relief money to the police department. And for what? Not so they could be better trained to prevent, further fucking executions of citizens, apparently, so that they have more guns, which Lori Lightfoot is concerned about.
And money for lawsuits when this shit happens, as this person points out.
Yep, exactly. So they can cover it up like they tried to do in this case. And I also thought it was worth playing this video. Thanks so much for that super chat, man. Really do appreciate that support.
Shout out, Kenny.
I did want to play this really quickly as well. This is an activist and Bernie surrogate from 2020, actually, addressing Lori Lightfoot, addressing the situation and calling for her resignation.
Am I calling on Mayor Lightfoot to resign? 100%. I don't think that she's ready to make this bold change to take down this racist system that she's given. She gave over $2.5 billion to the police last year. What? The highest crime rate in 30 years. They ain't solving much crime. They traumatizing and brutalizing people, but they got $2.5 billion. Show me an investment of $100 million in a black or brown community.
And to be fair, I am somewhat sympathetic to the argument that there are so many goddamn guns in this country on the streets, unregulated, that cops are genuinely terrified of people, citizens having weapons of war. But this is not a situation where in any sense you could make that comparison or even bring that.
A 13-year-old boy, unarmed boy.
An unarmed literal child. The police in Chicago are literal child murderers.
There's no argument that this is what terror organizations do. This is the Chicago police are. It's a gang organization. There's no other way to describe prowling the streets in the middle of the night. And not only that, they tried to cover it up. Not only did the horrifying events of making that little boy's mother watch him be murdered. That was, you can't even talk about and describe what that woman must have gone through. But then to watch her son be portrayed in the media, they tried to put out all this shit like, oh, he was a child of the streets, as if she didn't fucking love him, try and take care of him. Yeah. It's so fucking maddening, right? Because they're trying to lean into all of these tropes, right? Because, oh, he's a brown kid and brown kids' parents don't love them apparently, or whatever the fuck the media is trying to portray and insinuate with all that heinous bullshit. But it's so disgusting and odious and it's constant, right? This is what we're inundated by, this, guys. Think about it. This is these events shouldn't be overlapping like this, but they are constantly, right? And it just shows a fucking enormous failure and a complete lack of accountability and a complete lack of reform and change. And it has to be asked then, why is, because there, this isn't a problem to the people who have the capability of changing it, right? And so I think the only thing that we can do is keep making it a fucking problem for them, because we can't give up. I know it's fucking frustrating, and it really does wake you up to the fact that we do not live in a representative democracy. If we did, we would have seen dramatic police reform, as you said, Gavin. We would have seen a defunding of the police, a reallocation of funds, a complete reimagining of what the fuck has to go down. So I just fucking can't. I can't think of it. I don't know what the fuck else we can do besides, keep taking to the streets and we need to listen to these the black and brown community and take what they're telling us is the solution seriously and fucking enact those changes to prevent this continual slaughter from fucking occurring on the streets of this country. It's crazy. And speaking of Lori Lightfoot, one more thing about that, to apparently obfuscate from this crisis happening in her city and her responsibility, again, in giving these funds to the police department completely unnecessarily. She's now engaging with this insanity, which is, I guess there's some tabloid rumor going around that she's cheated on her wife.
I don't even know the details of this. I don't give a fuck about, Lori Lightfoot's personal life. But apparently, again, in the midst of this crisis, she's taken to Twitter, first of all, with this weird joke. See me. Good morning from my mansion. I think that's a joke because she knows how much people think she's an elitist piece of shit, which she is. So already starting with a
why
weird,
did you? Why? How does that? How could that possibly seem like a good idea to lead with that in a fucking pandemic where people are facing a housing crisis, and you're the mayor of Chicago, where the fucking probably one of them epicenters of the fucking housing crisis, guys.
Exactly.
I mean, Chicago in a lot. I mean, the fucking housing problem in Chicago is. I mean, we don't have time to get into it, but it's fucking bad.
Yeah. And again, in the midst of this crisis where a 13-year-old child has been executed in her city by her fucking cops that she just funded, she's now going to take the time out of everyone's day to distract from the issue by addressing this random rumor. By the way, tons of politicians have rumors about affairs and cheating. It's not specific to her. So it's hilarious that she tries to cast it as homophobic, racist, and misogynist, just immediately trying to pull every victim card possible to, again, deflect from her responsibility in enabling this police fucking murder. So she wants to focus on this stupid rumor. It's shocking and disappointing to see some media members and verified Twitter handles are peddling this trash.
Dude, can you fucking? I hate the whole Twitter handle verified thing. Like, oh my god, it's so fucking dumb to me. It's like, who cares whether or not who cares whether or not the establishment oligarchs at fucking Twitter, But obviously, she does. She's a fucking an aspiring oligarch herself, perhaps.
Anyway, I just can't see this as anything other than an attempt to deflect and obfuscate from the situation going on with Adam Toledo. I don't know why she would be, again, going on this rant, addressing these stupid, dumb rumors that honestly I wouldn't even have known about if she not put this tweet out. Again, it seems like it's kind of relegated to the tabloids and Twitter at this point. Like no one really gives a shit about this stuff until she went on this weird Twitter thread rant. So, fuck Lori Lightfoot, truly one of the most disgraceful.
Every mayor of Chicago is fucking terrible, right? She was supposed to be the she came after Rahm Emanuel, one of the shittiest motherfuckers of all time. We all remember him from Laquan McDonald and just running the city into the ground generally, and covering up the police and doing all the things that apparently Lori Lightfoot's down to do too.